George, have you thought about your opening batsman for the Test yet? You mentioned it could be a different team for Lords and the West Indies. Does that mean a change of opener, or who would be the front runner to open with Usman Khawaja?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think we're probably in a position to announce. I think there's still a few moving parts in terms of guys playing and where some of the other players, Cameron Green's returning as well, so where he works up into the lineup. Obviously Josh Inglis has performed really well, so I think with the squad, Pat and Andrew will have plenty of options as to where they go. But yeah, we have been really strong on trying to delineate between the World Test Championship final and then separate out the West Indies will be slightly different.
Is Marnus Labuschagne under consideration as an opener?
I think he could do it if that's, I think Marnus could open the batting. I think we've got a number of guys who could open the batting, but certainly that's not to say that they will.
How do you look at it when it's just a one-off test like that? Do you put your best 11 out there, even if someone like Marnus isn't used to opening the innings at test level?
Yeah, I absolutely think we're always trying to put our best 11 out there, but it's how you structure that up and what you're trying to achieve. So I'm not trying to be cryptic about it. We're sitting on the 11 and we know what it is, but we're not announcing it. I just think there's quite a bit to work through before. What are we sitting here now? May. The test is another month away. There's still plenty of guys playing cricket. There's guys in India. There's guys in England playing. There's obviously some guys starting their preparation here too. So we'll just work through that in due course.
Cam Green obviously came out swinging in his first county innings, but then a few single-digit scores from there. Have you seen enough from him to suggest he could immediately go into that 11, or do you need to see more of him over the next few weeks?
No, I think it's great that he's playing. So I think that's fantastic that he's back and he's returned well. And as much fantastic to see him get some runs, but I think also just his ability to back up innings to innings and match to match. I think he pulled up pretty sore after that first innings, having not played for a little while. So he'll get better and better as he does that. I think all those guys. We know he's a quality player. We know he's a proven performer at Test level. So whether and how many runs he gets are not necessarily as much of a concern as just getting some match play under his belt.
And when do you hope to see him bowling again? What's the timeline on that?
I think we've been pretty clear. I think we'll sort of slowly load that up with a view that that'll probably come online around the Ashes.
What does the preparation look like here in Brisbane ahead of going to the World Test Championship? What are you going to be doing?
I am going to be catching up with everyone really, but I think the guys here will just be I think some of them have been going for a few weeks. Some of them I think it's their first hit since the end of the season. So very much tailor-made to the individual around what their preparation needs, but a good chance. Obviously not being able to get outside in many of the states at the moment, so a good chance to get outside here. Good chance to catch up as well over the next couple of weeks and get ready.
What do you see from Brendan Doggett that made you guys want to include him there as a travelling reserve there as well? He sort of exploded this year after a bit of, a quieter period leading into the season.
Well, I think he took 6 for in the Australia A game very early on in the season. We've had our eye on Brendan for a long time, but getting I think some continuity into his cricket where he's being able to get over a few injury niggles and play some really consistent cricket. He was in and amongst the Test squad over the summer, which was good. So I think you can throw Sean Abbott, who's on standby for this squad as well. I think you can throw a handful of those guys. Michael Nesta, who's out here at the moment. There's a handful of guys who are, who depending on the conditions and opposition and who they might be replacing, could all do a really good job.
And with Sammy Constas as well, how do you see the way he finished the Shield season? And he was obviously pretty fearless in Boxing Day, that was well reported, but would you still have faith to throw him into a game as big as the Test Championships?
Yeah, and I thought, I think Andrew's spoken to this, and I think Greg Shippard spoke to it at the end of the year. I think it's pretty clear that he's not the finished product. He's on a journey. He's a highly talented player. All the things that have been said about him. But again, the things we like, he's a quick learner. He's really keen to learn. He's shown an amazing ability to adapt and change the way he plays. So any opportunity that he does get around this team, whether that's actually in the 11 or around the squad, I think he's going to continue to improve.
Is that a plan for him to feature in the West Indies? Like you're leading up to the Ashes, aren't you? And you'd hope to have your opening combination settled by then, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think anytime you want to be really clear on what your 11 looks like, but you want to make sure that if there are any moving parts that you're not caught short. So yeah, working through what that looks like. But again, that's not to discount his ability to play in the World Test Championship should he be required as well.
How do you balance, like particularly, when it comes to that opening partnership, trying to pick your best 11 versus sort of having an eye towards, I guess, the future and an eye towards the Ashes?
I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive. I think you can. Clearly, this is a team that will be, as all teams are, in transition over the next period of time. But whether that's in the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, but you're constantly trying to build out depth, and particularly, if there are no players retiring or moving on, just for the very fact that we play so much cricket, there's injuries, and you just want to make sure that there's always someone ready to step in and not just fill a spot, but be ready to perform and play their role really well.
Is it a factor at all that South Africa have got such a magnificent opening partnership of Rabada and Jansen, and that's about as tough as it gets, isn't it? Does that influence your decision at all?
It'll be a factor. Yeah, I think where it's been played, Duke's balls, Lord, your opposition. I think all of that, and then how you want your top six to structure up will all be factors.
Does the fact that Green can't bowl enhance the chances of Bo Webster in a one-off test? You might need some overs from an all-rounder.
Yeah, I think looking into that from a data point of view, and then I think that'll become clearer once we get to the UK and probably get eyes on particularly those fast bowlers that have been playing in India, and just see how they're all working pretty hard behind the scenes to make sure they start to ramp up their loads a little bit, but it will be a slightly different preparation, so we'll get a bit of a chance to see where they're at. Obviously a couple more weeks prep here, and certainly from the opportunities that he's had so far, Bo's been really impressive.
And what about Josh Inglis, Test century maker? Does that put any pressure on you to put him in the side? Could it be a shock at opener, or would you once said that you weren't looking at him as an opener, but could that be revisited? Or
yeah, it could be. I mean, I think he could do it, but I've said the same about Marner. So I do think that it's a role that more people could do it than we probably give credit to. I know there is a prevailing thought that it's a specialised role, but I think the way and in certain conditions there's opportunities at different times where other guys could do it, whether that's England for Josh or whether that's in that middle order role where he's had some success already. But yeah, really pleasing. Again, he's someone who was biding his time, waiting and waiting. It's always pleasing when someone grabs that opportunity.
And a big tick for Matt Kuhnemann. Is he now the number 2 spinner, and what does that mean for Todd Murphy? Does he have to bide his time a bit longer now?
We certainly will for this tour in the West Indies, and I'll throw Corey Rocchiccioli in there as well, who's been really, really impressive over the last 2 seasons, and those two I think will compete really hard. Again, I don't, not necessarily trying to put it in a pecking order. I think what Matt's done's been really impressive, and in Sri Lanka, and rewarded with a contract as well, and that, I guess, the ability, if the conditions, particularly in the West Indies, we can get some really strong spin conditions that may be conducive to playing the 2 spin option, which one spinning both ways is nice to have. But Todd will continue to develop, as will Corey. So we've got some nice depth there. And
you mentioned Sean Abbott. Is standby? Are there other players that are on standby, such as Michael Neser, who missed out on this one?
No, I mean Ness is always in the mix. He's building up on the back of a couple of injuries across the season, but when he was back and playing, he's always impressive, isn't he? So he's always going to be there or thereabouts. We have obviously some guys playing some really good cricket in England at the moment, so and we've got some guys who won't be coming on the tour with us but are here preparing now, so we'll have plenty of depth.